Hello and welcome to another edition of Cultural Conversations with the Big South. I'm your host, Darius Thigpen. This month we have a pair from Presbyterian joining us, both representing the baseball team. And he just wrapped up his 17th season coaching his alma mater, historic year which culminated in a Big South tournament win, trip to the NCAA regionals. Head coach Elton Pollock. Coach Pollock, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thank you guys for having us, and looking forward to it.
And one of the leaders on this incredible run for your team this season, Big South Tournament MVP, a 300 hitter with 10 home runs this season, senior outfitter Zacchaeus Raspberry. Zacchaeus, how are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Well, it's the first time that we've had a chance to get a coach and a player combo together. So it's really a pleasure to get to speak to you both at the same time. So, Coach, first off for you, you guys had such an incredible run getting to the NCAA tournament. Starts with games at Auburn. You told us off air that the season was a little bit delayed kicking off, but when did you really realize that this was going to be a special season for you guys?
Well, we talked about it in the fall. Obviously, you do that every year, but there was something different about this group and the way that they worked and just a lot of the overall effort. And I have to really, pinpoint the leadership of the upperclassmen. And, we really thought we had something special coming out of the fall. Once you have that break over Christmas, you never know how things are going to happen when you come back. And so we were primed and ready and just really looking for guys to just step up and knowing that we needed depth in order to make any type of run on the front end. But we had a lot of cultural discussions with this team, a lot more so than any year that I've coached, to be totally honest. And what we wanted up front was just clarity of the mission. And our mission was to win the Big South Conference championship through faith in God and faith in each other. And that was the statement that we put out. And that's what the guys bought into and kind of rallied around in throughout the year. So, I guess to pinpoint any one point, it would have to be kind of coming out of COVID and playing a lot of young guys as different guys were kind of plugged into the lineup, young guys, in fact. And it proved very valuable down the stretch. So just really, really happy for what this team did and how they represented the program for everyone that's come before them.
And Zacchaeus, you were one of the leaders on that team, one of the rocks in the outfield. And for you, when did you kind of see that this was going to be that kind of a year for you guys?
I would agree with Coach Pollock. All really started in the fall. Everybody buying in for sure on that side of things. On that side of things, for our motto was "Why not us?" Like Coach P said, we definitely had a goal to win the Big South tournament, and we really bought into that, working all the way through 300s, which is a lot of conditioning through the fall, and also going into the season with COVID, we had a lot of guys that or our team had a lot of depth in a lot of different positions, which was really nice, especially going into COVID, and some guys being out. A lot of guys were really able to step up in big situations, which was really awesome. And when everybody ended up coming back, we had a lot of trust in each other. I think we really bonded well as a team. And I mean, I played on a lot of teams, and each team is special in its own way. But this team was a little bit different. And just starting the season, it wasn't our best start. But I really saw some hope in the season.
Well, Zacchaeus, for you, for your final season, going out with a Big South tournament win, and the fact that it was a season where you played some of your best baseball, like you were really hot at the plate. What went into all of that for you? The fact that you were able to have such a strong senior season.
A lot of prayer and a lot of struggles with that. It's definitely a blessing in disguise. We started the season last year 2-14, and this year I didn't have the hottest start to the season, but I kept working hard and trusting the coaches, trusting in my teammates, and ultimately trusting in Jesus Christ. That's my faith. So just with a lot of hard work and prayer and support from teammates, coaches, and friends, and a lot of motivation, it definitely worked out in the end, which was really awesome.
And Coach Pollock, I'm sure that makes you a proud coach to hear that. A lot of hard work going into it, a lot of faith, but trusting in you all and getting the team together and making it a successful one after what last year wasn't for you all. What did it mean to come back and not just any year, but specifically this year to be such a strong season for you?
Well, you set out on the front end for all of them to be successful. I mean, but this year, just watching these guys rally around each other, and as Zacchaeus said, I mean, it's like, the faith piece is a big piece for us. We don't deny that at all. And I think, when we rally around those things, and it doesn't mean necessarily that everyone that is in our program, has the same faith or anything else, but being at PC gives us the platform to be able to influence others and do the right thing through our faith. And so, it's something that we don't really beat anybody over the head and say, you got to do this or do that. And we understand that people are at different points in life. People are at different places in their walk. And so we just try to make sure that we have that constant exposure, that we're pushing the guys. The work is legitimate, and I would say everybody works hard. I mean, to be in this game at this point in your career and not work hard and to expect success would be kind of going way against the grain. So we really lock in on those fundamentals and really lock in on the process, and believing that if you do the process right, it's going to yield the results that you want. So a lot of one-run games, a lot of nail biters. As you can see, I pulled my hair out. So it was all worth it in the end when you really get down to it. But I have to give a lot of that credit to the guys being selfless enough to not really care, more or less, not above the team. Everybody wants to play, but really being selfless enough to keep a great attitude. I thought our dugout was stellar all year, pulling for each other, no matter who was on the field. And I think that gave a lot of guys the confidence and courage to pull through when we needed it.
And Coach, you mentioned having a diverse team with different men of different faiths working all together for the common goal. Well, you also have the unique challenge in specifically this season where differences in culture really did make a difference. You really do feel it, at least in general, across America with the summer that was after the killings of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and the conversations that were had all around it. And I'm curious, how did you handle it with your team when it came to a summer that we saw a lot of talk around social activism, equality, equity? How did you handle it with your team?
Well, personally, it just got heightened, I think, this year. I mean, these things have been going on for a long time throughout the history of of what has transpired in our country and around. I think, this particular year when that happened with George Floyd, it opened a lot of eyes that hatred does exist, that things are not a utopia. And so, it brought about us having to dialogue to really express those different views, because as it resonates with some, it doesn't with others. And I don't think, many times that people are wrong in how you feel, but I think you have to have a platform to be able to express that, and also another platform or that same platform to be able to listen and to listen intently with an open heart, to be able to really, there's a difference in hearing and a difference in listening. So I think really giving the guys a platform, I felt like it was necessary to have dialogue. And so what we did was get the guys together on a Zoom call, and I pretty much moderated that call with zero influence one way or the other. I really wanted to know what the guys were feeling, what they were thinking. I also, once we got through that, shared personal experiences on why I do feel like, these things are relevant, and, to really open their minds to just a different way to look at through a lens that someone else may see things through. And that's on both sides of the spectrum, to be totally honest. So it was very good. I thought it was encouraging for our guys to have that platform. And so, we've got all kind of cultures in the room and guys that have been exposed to different things. So they were able to weigh in a positive light. And I think at the end of that call, the guys had a real a real satisfaction, if you will, with the fact that they were in a place where you could have those types of dialogues, and we gained ground with that. And so I was able to share that with some other coaches as well, and received calls and spoke to teams that were not my own regarding this issue. So it was something that was near and dear to my heart, and I felt like it was to the players as well.
Well, I want to stay on that for just a second, Coach. The fact that you're going in and talking to these other teams and you're talking to players who aren't your own players, and you are one of just two black coaches coaching predominantly white institutions across the nation. So, how did those different interactions go where you're looking to a group of young men who don't really know you and you're asking them to listen to you and you're really trying to gain their trust and show them your perspective?
Well, the first thing, I go in with a listening ear. I don't go into any situation that I don't know, obviously, and and try to influence one way or the other. And so basically, it was a platform that was opened up for young men to have dialogue, and I listened, quite frankly, because while some of the instances and situations were similar to some that I knew of, and some that even members of my team were familiar with, everything's different, and I saw a different perspective in some of those situations. But yeah, I'm just an open book in those situations where I'm kind of a little bit of a fish out of water. But man, people are people. Your heart is your heart, your mind is your mind, and we try to really cater to those things to really make sure that people understand that there's compassion for whatever your view is. To be able to listen to those things, and I may not understand it, I may not get it. I like to think right is right and wrong is wrong, but man, I'm telling you, the more you listen, you find out that different experiences yield a different perception, and so you have to really honor that as you listen. At the same time, not trying to talk loud and just to get my point across so that I can change someone's mind. I just want to make sure that there's an understanding. And if you're listening, I think you can come to some common ground.
Now, Zacchaeus, from a player's perspective, you hear Coach, he gets the Zoom together, the team all together, and then you guys have these ongoing conversations, sure, but it's probably a different perspective, I'm guessing, from you on a player-to-player level, especially when you have these bus rides during batting practice, whenever you guys have downtime around the facility or whatever it may be. So how did those conversations over the last year or so go for you, talking to your teammates and talking to people in general, just around campus?
It's definitely a thing that it was basically like the elephant in the room. I mean, everybody sees it. It's kind of uncomfortable to talk about, but it's definitely important to talk about. And Coach P, he's always had that open door policy. He's always been a guy where if you need something, just let me know, or even if I'm just here to listen, and we can talk about different things, and especially like a big issue with inequality in the world. And I really appreciate him allowing the team to have a platform like that, and being able to express ourselves in this situation, even with more expressive guys. Everybody's a little bit more quiet, a little bit sensitive to the situation, which is understandable. But with Coach P leading it all, I felt like it was more important to listen and try to understand different perspectives and different backgrounds. And even as a Black athlete, I don't know everything. I don't come from the same background as the next Black athlete. So it was definitely something where you always have to have an open ear and be open to everybody else's opinion and what they think about things, because you probably think about one thing in one way and they think about another thing in another way, which was really interesting, especially with a topic like that. And then even after the Zoom call, I had guys just texting and seeing if I was okay, just mentally going through different things that was happening, social media outlets and stuff like that, and just having our conversation on our own. So having Coach P kind of open up the floor. And then even if the guys weren't very comfortable with talking within a huge group, just getting in smaller groups and being able to discuss and be open. And I thought that was really a turning point and a thing that brought the team together, and not only for our baseball team, but for other teams at PC, and hopefully being a influence to other schools across the state and across the nation.
And it's really good to hear that you guys also had those smaller conversations, those breakaway conversations. And how did those go? Were those conversations where you felt like you were leading some, or you were just listening to some, or it was really back and forth? How did those go on those smaller interactions?
They definitely went well. Like I said, you have some guys that are really expressive, and especially with a topic like that, they're not really the most comfortable, especially talking to a coach or somebody that's not like your teammate, the guy that you have fun with, you hit with every single day. It's a little bit different having that little interaction between your classmate or teammate versus a coach that's been coaching for 17 years, or another coach that's like, I don't know, like 20, 30 years older than you. So it's a little bit different. And I felt like being an open guy like I am, and listening to others, I felt like that allowed other guys to be a little bit more comfortable and express how they felt about things and ask the different questions that they may not have wanted to ask Coach P or another coach. So I thought that was a good thing.
Now, Coach, you have to be a little happy to hear that it wasn't just you had your Zoom call and then conversation's over, topics dropped. The guys kept it going. They kept talking amongst each other. I mean, how do you feel knowing that that's kind of the way it went?
Well, I think that just goes to the development of the guys. I think that's through the culture and what we have created. I mean, we're trying to produce young men that are going to go out and be successful in society. And, we've got a pretty steady track record of doing that. And that happens because they can think for themselves. I just manage the whole thing, and these guys come in and, we just have a culture where they feel like they can do that. And Z is exactly right. I mean, they have to coexist. One of the questions I got, and this was another team that brought this up, was, we listen to rap music, Coach, and there's some explicit lyrics that go on and the N-word is thrown around. And so I redirected. I said, so what do you do when the N-word, it's coming? You got a white guy in the car, you got your black teammate in the car, and both of you are grooving and just pumping to the music, and that's coming. What do you do? And so we bounced that question around, and it was different for different guys. And so they were saying like, hey, I know my boy, and some of the guys were like, I pause and I look to see whether or not he's going to say it or not. Is he going to ultimately disrespect me in that way to say the word during that time? And others don't feel like it's disrespect. Well, if they're saying it, then they feel like they should be able to say that. And so those are some of the things in society that I think we are, on edge about. How do we conduct ourselves? What's proper? What's right in those particular situations? And I don't know if that came up with Z in some of their breakout conversations, but that's a real thing for some people to be able to do that. So I grew up coming out of an era where, I mean, that word is just taboo. You don't touch it. It's something that's an oppressive term, and, something that my parents lived through, something they talked about as I was growing up in the house, and my grandparents and everyone else, especially being, here in the South. So it's just a mindfulness. At the same time, I think when you understand the history of it and the history of where what oppression is, why do certain people feel this way, then you feel, or then you can at least understand the reaction. Why there's rioting. Is rioting right? Absolutely not. But I think in many cases it's a cry out for change. It's a cry out for help in many cases. So I think all of these things, all of these platforms allowed us to dialogue about these things.
And to kind of further that point, Coach, and Zacchaeus, I'll come back to you for this, because there aren't as many black men, especially in the space in baseball and in other parts of life as well, whether it be in business, school, wherever it may be. There are black men and black women, black people in general, who are looked at as being the arbiter for everything black. You need to know what it means to be black for everyone and speak to the entire experience. So some people can feel like there's a little extra pressure to then speak on these matters. So Zacchaeus, did you ever feel like you were kind of in that position where it's like, all right, I have to speak up and I have to say something because I'm the black voice in the room or I'm the person that everyone else is looking to? How did that kind of go for you?
Definitely. So sometimes I'm more of a listener. I definitely soak things in. I like to assess and analyze everything that's going around and understand of everybody's perspective and everything. But I'm also young, and I also don't know everything. So that's another reason why I listen so much. And I get in a lot of situations where people want me to say something, but maybe it's not the right time to say something, or you don't really know the correct answer for what they want you to say, which to a certain extent, I mean, it is putting pressure on me. But when it comes back to me, I know how to answer it. Maybe whether it's a day later, or a week later, or a year later, who knows? But I've definitely grown from this past summer, being able to like answer questions and be able to assist others that might be in the same situation as I am. I know on campus we've had cultural topics that we could discuss about. It's a group called Fishbowl that I was a part of at PC. Met like a couple of times a week. And I thought it was important because at first, like I said, didn't really know all the answers to everything. But later on, I was able to lead discussions and be able to help others and in that sense. So I thought that was really important. And I still have a lot to learn. And being a student and a athlete under Coach Pollock, I've definitely learned a lot from him, and as well as my family and my community.
Well, Coach, for you, I mean, same kind of question. When you look at things as a black man, as a leader, as a coach, one of the two black coaches at PWIs across the country, and here you are speaking to other teams across the nation. Do you feel like there's an extra pressure to go and speak or to be a part of these conversations, or are you just willing to embrace it and just ready to jump in?
I think we're called to do certain things in life. I think, to me, this is a calling. It's a platform. I've got a lot of ministers in my family. They used to ask me, "Hey, when are you gonna get in the pulpit?" That's not my call. That comes from a different place. And until I do get that call, or if it ever happens, I think this is the platform to influence and change lives. And no matter what, I'm in a visible spot. And I think with that platform comes the responsibility to speak to, certain issues, to not always worry about political correctness when you're talking and speaking from the heart about what you believe. And obviously when asked, I don't think it's something where you go shouting from the hills about who you are and everything else. But I do think, it's a platform to do right. And because of that platform, I have to govern myself accordingly. I think, many times, it was told to me growing up, you're going to be under a microscope. You're going to be held to a different standard to do things the right way. And it was taught to me that way. And that's the way I've always carried myself, to be better, just to do things better. And I attribute that to my family, my mom, my dad, whom attend as many baseball games as they can. My dad is still at just about every home game that we play, and travels to away games. And he's retired now, so he can do that a lot more. But man, he scores every game. He literally scores every game. And I'm telling you, the influence that has. He's taught my son how to score games. My son is 10. He knows more MLB players than I mean, I don't even know all the players in the MLB, and he's just locked in. He watches the game differently. So those things are taught. And so when I'm taught at an early age that, man, you got to be better, you got to strive, you got to, you got to get better grades, you got to push yourself, you got to separate from the crowd, you got to stand out. I mean, those things, and then understanding what the foundation to all of that is through faith, through those ministers in my family, through my mom. No matter what time I got in the night before on a Saturday night, I had to be in Sunday school that next morning. I grew up in the AME church, and a lot of respect of, this, the whole Emmanuel 9, and that was the AME church that suffered through that. And so it's something that's very near and dear to my heart, from a standpoint of just trying to make a difference with this platform, more so than anything else, pouring into others like Zacchaeus and all of his teammates. I don't care what color you are on my team. I'm going to coach you hard the same way, every single guy in that program. He knows that. He can attest to it on many, many different levels. I'm certain of that. He was never one I had to be too hard on. He got it right the first time. And he's a heck of a player. Obviously, we're going to miss him, but I feel strongly about him being able to carry the torch out in the world, and, with his strong upbringing, his strong parenting, and he's going to be a difference maker. And that just does my heart very well.
As a former official scorer, I'll say I'm breaking out into cold sweats knowing that you and your dad got your own scorecard going throughout the course of a game.
Oh.
So
yeah, every game.
Every game. As we take a look back at this season and what it turned out to be, you guys go and make your run into the Big South tournament, knock out the top seed to go and clinch it and get into the NCAA tournament for the first time in program history. There's a lot there from this season, but for a season where you all came together and achieved an incredible goal, Coach, for you, what was your top moment from this year?
Oh, man. I would say I had two top moments, if I can share those. The first one was the realness of the Big South Championship. The moment the last out was made, just looking back at video, I didn't see it this real time, but this is what stands out the most. I'm watching Jeremiah Boyd sprint from the corner of the dugout out to the middle of the field and seeing that dog pile. I wish that for every coach that puts in the work, that has expectations to win a championship. It was an unreal feeling. It was just, I don't know. I mean, it gives my heart chills to talk about it, but it was something else to win that Big South Championship, a goal that we had set out for initially, and to attain it. I mean, I know that God was watching over us. I know that these guys that bonded together saw this thing come together in a time such as this. The other thing was the validation on the field from my former head coach, Tim Corbin. As we met at home plate in the regional, when he can obviously express a level of satisfaction to me, knowing that I played for him and he was a coach that I didn't want to disappoint, I think that took it to the next level for me. And also having, I played for Coach Corbin for 2 years, and then 2 years following that, I played for Doug Kovash, and Coach Kovash was present also during that time, and he hired me. And then myself taking the program from Division II to Division I and achieving this championship, let me know, honestly, the life lesson in that is you don't always get things when you want them, but if you persevere, then good things are going to happen. I had an assistant coach that used to say, you work hard and you'll be rewarded. And this was the case with Presbyterian College in 2021.
And Zacchaeus, for you, what was your top moment from this season?
I would agree with Coach P in terms of like the perseverance. It wasn't necessarily a moment, but just like the whole season this year, especially as a senior last year, returning for a fifth year, starting out 2-14 is definitely not the way you want to end your college career. But being able to come in this season and going through all the struggles and just understanding, staying strong in faith and continue to pray and trusting teammates, coaches, family, and just being motivated by so many different people. And you end up in place where you can win a Big South championship, and we did that. Just like Coach P was talking about, that final out. You first instinct for most players was just to go straight in the middle of the field, dog pile. The first thing I was like, thank you, Jesus. It was just a great moment for me. And it was really unreal. And I don't even know if this still hit me yet, but just being able to be in that opportunity to win a Big South championship, and especially the first of the school's history, and making it to a regional was awesome. And then on top of that, being named Big South MVP for the tournament was really just the cherry on top, which was really awesome. And I'm really thankful for that.
And certainly happy for you both and for the success that you experienced on the field this season as a team, and getting everyone together to accomplish such an incredible goal again for you all this year. Now, as we begin to wrap up, I'd like to ask each of you if there's any charity organization doing good work during these tough times that you would like to promote, give a shout out to. Coach Pollock, start with you.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out Wayne French. Wayne French runs Straight Street of Lawrence. We do a lot of mentoring with them. They have a faith element. They do a breakout session called Straight Talk during their time with the kids. And what it is a organization that gets kids off the street during the weekends. It promotes faith, but it gives them an environment where they don't have to be on the street. They can come in, they can shoot hoops, they can play games, they can shoot pool, play ping pong, all these different avenues, and they can dialogue and talk to certain kids and try to bring people together. And so we get our team involved in that each year, and we go over and just spend time more or less. And my guys enjoy it because they get to go out and show the young kids they can dunk on 9-foot goals, and some of them can dunk on 10-foot goals. We just try to make sure that I'm like, guys, stay on the ground, have fun with these guys on the ground so nobody gets hurt. But they do an outstanding job. That's their ministry. That's their mission. So Wayne French with Straight Street, man, keep doing a great job, and we'll continue to bring the guys over and help you out when we can.
And Zacchaeus, other than dunking on these kids, who else would you like to talk about?
Well, I also would like to kind of shout out my own thing that I want to restart again. I started in high school, did it my junior and my senior year. It's called a junior senior weekend for Chad. We had a 3-on-3 basketball tournament. Junior senior is kind of like the juniors, the youth, and the seniors, just the more mature people, raising money for cancer, heart disease, arthritis, and diabetes, just different charities that or different diseases that people deal with in their youth and as they age. So I want to start that up at some point in the near future. And that's about it right there.
And as for me, as I do, I'd like to mention the Black Play-by-Play Scholarship and Grant Fund. The fund is a scholarship opportunity for Black college students and those who are just recently out of school looking to get a broadcasting career started in play-by-play. And it was started by a bunch of baseball broadcasters, definitely looking to get more Black baseball broadcasters in the industry. So the Black Play-by-Play Grant and Scholarship Fund is something that I would really hope that everyone at least knows about moving forward. Well, Presbyterian baseball head coach Elton Pollock and senior outfielder Zacchaeus Raspberry, I really appreciate both of your time. You guys were excellent tonight. I appreciate talking to you.
Hey, thank you for having us, Darius.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, and thank you, fans, for tuning in and watching. We'll catch you with Culture Conversations in the Big South next time.